So this is the second part of the video tutorial that we're gonna continue working on the rock, paper, and scissors game from where we stopped last time. So the last thing we did was we had our home screen, and once the button for begin was clicked, it basically just showed a blank black screen, and this is the screen where we're gonna have the player and the computer labels, and these are the labels I'm talking about. The one that we have for player and computer, I think we have them over here. No, that's the home one. Okay, this label, this is the player one, and this is the computer one that I'm talking about that we're going to be having here. Of course, you can make a design as well if you wanted to still keep the setting as was in the home screen. So if you want to do something similar to your home screen, and then when you move on, you have a similar design, you can also do that on Lunapic. But right now, what we are going to do is continue working on our code. So I'm going to start off by going to this part of your code, which is line 19. And that is the part where we have this picture variable. And remember that we have the home screen, which then welcomes the player. And after that, it says, please click on the begin button to start the game. And once that happens, then of course, this black colored screen appears. Now from here, we're going to continue and create some functions that we're going to be needing. So one function is to create the player option function, which I'm calling it player option because that's the function we're going to be using to put either rock, paper, or scissors, depending on what the player chooses. So I'm going to start by writing player option, circular brackets, colon, hit enter. I'm going to global the player variable that we already created here. That's going to be storing the option that the player chooses, whether rock, paper, or scissors. Then I'm going to create, we already have created the player hand variable right here, which I actually, on second thoughts, I think it's a really good idea to put that into this function, but we can still leave it outside and we can just use the player hand turtle pen to be able to insert the picture based on what the player chooses. So here I'm putting player hand.pen up. I'm going to also put player hand.goto, but I'm going to be going to, so because the player's on the left side, I'm going to go to -350 and then of course -2, and that's kind of the coordinates that I'm going to be using. The next thing is I'm going to put player hand.pen down so that of course we command the computer to be able to put the pen down so it can start inserting the picture. And then we have screen.addShape, and then here we're going to put the variable picture, which is obviously going to store the choice that the player has made to show either rock, paper, or scissors. And then here we're going to have player_hand.shape, and of course inserting the picture as well. And then finally, we're going to move on to the computer part. So this is for inserting. I'm going to put a comment here. So this inserts the player choice. Okay, so the player choice picture, whether the player has chosen to do rock, paper, or scissors on the second screen, mind you. So now I'm going to do the same thing for the computer choice. I'm going to call this computer option. You can call the function something else if you would like. And then here, what I'm going to do on the next side is I'm going to global the computer variable. So global computer. And then, of course, I'm going to use this computer hand.pen up. And then I'm going to do computer hand.goto, and that's going to be -2 here. And then, of course, I'm going to do computer hand.pen down, and then I'm going to do screen.addShape. Well, instead of a screen.addShape, because we're adding shape for the player, and that's kind of like when the player chooses rock, paper, scissors, we can skip the add shape part and just do computer, because the add shape part is something we're going to make change to, particularly for the computer when we are showing when we're trying to insert the picture for the computer. You're going to see what I mean by that. For now, this is just going to be computer hand.shape, which is to add the computer's picture based on what the computer chooses. So this is very similar to the one above. So this inserts the computer choice, and of course this means the choice between choice picture, I would say, and that's between rock, paper, and scissors. Okay. All right, so we're done with these two main functions. These are definitely functions that we need. to be able to insert the pictures based on player and computer choice. And now we're going to be inserting the function that actually allows the that shows who is winning. So because we have one that's a tie, remember, if both nobody won, we have win one, which if the player wins will show, and we have win two, which if the computer wins will show. So here we're going to go to the next line and we're going to be creating a function that actually inserts those pictures. So I'm going to call this function winning title. Okay. And so I'm just going to zoom in the screen a little bit more so it's visible enough. So the winning title is just going to insert the label for, inserts the label for if, or inserts the label for the computer win, the player win, the computer win, player win, and tie. Okay, so here we're going to be global, we need to global the coordinates because we need to adjust and put them. So we're going to global X, we're going to global Y. We're also going to global, oops, that should be on the next line. We're going to global picture. And of course, we're going to be putting using the pen that we created. Remember, we have a pen called hand. That's the turtle pen that we're going to use to insert this winning titles. So we're going to use that. We're going to say hand.pinup. Okay. And then of course we're going to say hand.goto, and we're going to be going to x, y coordinates. And then we're going to say hand.pindown. And then of course we move on to say screen.addShape. Okay, so we're adding like shape, like picture. That's what I meant. So screen.addShape, and then of course we're adding the picture, again using that picture variable to decide what. Oh, by the way, guys, I made a slight mistake here. If you can go back to this part of your code, I made a really slight mistake here. For the player, we're actually not adding picture because we're using picture to be able to use this variable to basically add who's winning. So for player, it's actually not picture, but it's rather player. So please make this change. This is supposed to be player, not picture. Okay, so now we've added picture for this part, and now we're going to go to, of course, do hand.shape, and then of course in the parenthesis we're going to be adding picture. And now we're going to start creating another function that actually starts the game on the second screen. So this, I'm going to put a comment, function to start the game. So that's all. We've now created all the three functions we need. One that's going to be inserting the player choice, one that's going to be inserting the computer choice, and then one that's going to be inserting the winning title label. So here we're going to be creating another function to start the game. I'm going to call this function start game. Actually, I'm going to erase that. And then colon. We're going to global a couple of things for this function. So we're going to be globaling the player variable because we need that to be able to set the picture based on what the player chooses. Like if the player chooses rock or paper, we need the computer as well to global that. We need the global the x and y coordinates. So global x, global y. And of course, we need to global picture as well, which I should have just globaled at the top. And then now we're going to start to put in the information to be able to begin this game. And a couple of things that I want to do is first put a nice title at the top. So what we're going to do is, of course, start with turtle. I'm going to use a pen for that. So we can put a title because right now we just have like a blank screen. And I mean put a title nicely here. You can also make a title on the, which I think is actually cool. Let's go design a really nice background here. I feel like I need a nice background for this area so I can put a nice title for the whole game. So if we can go back to Lunapic really quickly, and I just want to design a nice, looking background. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to New Blank Image. Okay. I feel like I'm just going to make this canvas a bit wider. So I'm going to make it 1000. And here I feel like I'm going to make it by 800. So it's like really wide. I'm going to go with my black background that I've used before, and I'll click go. Now I'm going to go to the border option. So borders, border tool. I just want to make a simple, nice background. I definitely am going to go with red because if you guys remember, if you remembered in the previous tutorial, my background for home does have like a red outline, like a red border. So I'm going to go with red. I think I'm going to increase the thickness a little bit more to 30. And then I'll just apply this border and put a nice title in here. So I'm going to click on text and then just want to put a cool title, something very similar to what we had in the first design. So what you designed in the first place. Mine was rock, paper, scissors game, and I think that's exactly what I'm going to be putting in here. So I'm just going to write rock, paper, scissors game. I actually have it stored. I'm going to go to Jelly Roman because I had that. I definitely am going to increase the size over here. So let's try 150, see how big that is. Ooh, that's very big. Maybe go with 100. Let's see how big that is. And that's quite big as well. So it's not really... It's too big for the, so we're missing the game part. I guess I'll go with 60. So I'll just keep trying to get the right. I think this is good. Let me see if I can keep increasing it and if we can take it a little bit. Perhaps I think it's just because it's too wide. I'm just going to stick with 61. Just put it over here and yeah, and if you want to put some nice photos or anything extra, I'm going to change the color to this color of my text, right? This one's pretty cool. And then I'll just click apply text. I think this is pretty good. It's wide enough to fit my screen. So I'm going to use this. I will just scroll down and all you have to do is click save and then just go back to your program. Remember to check your computer. You probably have it there. I'm just going to call this home 2 because I have home 1 or home_1. So I'm just going to go back to the code and click on upload file and select it, of course, and then say open. And what I'm going to do, if you have a PNG, make sure you rename this to change the PNG to a GIF because you can't use PNG. You have to make the picture GIF. And now I'm going to go to my main. And what I want to do is on my main, I already have screen.bg color black. I don't want, now that I have the black, I'm actually going to add this background picture that I just did. So what you should do is go back to this button click function. And after you said screen.bg color black, you can now say screen.bg pick. And this is where I'm going to be putting this home _1.gif, photo that we just made. So if I run this, let's see how it works. Going back and clicking the begin option. So I'm just going to zoom out a little. I think this is perfect, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so now if I click begin, you guys can see, I feel like I overdid the size. So I actually am disappointed because the size is like too much. And only when I zoom out, it shows like at a 90. But if I replay it from a 90, I think this is not bad actually. It shows the whole design, which is fine. I'm not going to redo the size, so I'm just going to keep it that way. So now we have a nice background there. So what we're going to do in this function, which I'm going to go zoom in, continuing from where we stopped here on the start game function, is we're going to be starting to insert the labels. So the label, remember, was the player, we have one for player and then we have one for computer, right? So these are labels you're going to have access to. You can make your own labels, by the way, on Lunapic if you want your own design. You could have even added that here. I feel like that's something you could have done. I just prefer to put the label because I can readjust it. That's the reason why I didn't add a player and a computer one here, because I felt that I could just readjust them in case if the picture does not fit in. So what I'm going to do is go back up. Oh, no, but go back up. Stay here. And then let's create a pen. So we already have player hand, computer hand, and hand. I'm going to create an actual pen now that we're going to use to put in this this titles for player or computer on the second screen or the second home screen. So now I'm going to go with pen1 dot pen up, right? And I'm going to start putting in the whole player thing. So I'm going to say pen1 dot go to, and I'm going to go to -150. So it actually shows and 280. Let's try that out. And then I'm going to do pen1 dot pen down, of course. And then, of course, I'm going to do screen.add shape. And what I want to do is add the picture for the player. And remember, the player is called player.gif. That's the name of the photo. And then I'm going to do pen1.shape. Okay. And obviously that's player1.gif. So now I've created the you can put like a comment here and say inserting the player label picture, so you know what you're doing and your code is more, organized, and that's what you're expected to do and have an organized code. Now I'm going to do another one for the computer. And so to do this one, I'm just going to call it pen2. And so pen2 is equals to turtle.turtle, right? And then of course pen2 dot pen up, and then of course pen2 dot go to. And so we're gonna be going to 480 and to 280, so like at that coordinate point, and then pen2 dot pen down. And then of course, then I'm going to be adding the picture. So screen.add shape, and I will be adding the shape photo, which the one for the computer is called computer.gif. So I'm going to add that one. And then of course, pen2 dot shape. And of course, I'm going to be adding the computer dot gif. And so if you want this function to actually work, we're not going to call the function here. I need you to go back again. Once you've finished doing this part of the function, go back to your home screen function and go back to the button click function. And right after you have cleared and put in the background picture, I want you to be able to call this function called the start game, because that's the one that will start working, start, being active. So call the function start game right after you say screen.bgpic. And now let's try and see if everything looks okay. So run your program again. Now click on the begin button. So I'm going to take this to the side, click on the begin button, and it looks good. I think it's just because I'm zoomed out. So go like at 100%, or even you can go at, I would say perhaps at a 90%, just so that everything fits well. I think it's pretty good. It's just that here, the player and the computer, they seem too far away. So maybe we can move the player further to the right, not too much to the left, and the computer a little bit more further to the left. So to make those changes, I would say further to the right for player, I'm gonna perhaps try 120, and then for the computer further to the left, I'm going to try something like 450. And now let's run it again and let's see how everything looks like. So it starts again with home screen, and it looks pretty good. So player needs to move again further to the right. So I'll reduce this and make it 100. And so moving again towards the right, playing begin, and this looks way better. So if you can move the player even further to the right a bit more, that would be better. So if we run it again, and let's see now, click on begin, and that's perfect. So this is what exactly I wanted. If you want to make it even further to make like an even gap, I would say it's better you keep it that way, like at 80, because remember the picture is going to be on one side and the computer's picture is on one side, so you want to be able to make sure that you are having space to put in whoever's winning, or at least put the pictures down so you can put whoever's winning at the top. So that's also a good wisdom to do. So I think I'm going to try that. So I'm just going to make this -60. Let me see how further more the player goes down. Forward. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. So now that we have these things ready, we can now start the whole game itself. So this is where we begin with the choice making. So a couple of things we're going to be adding in this tutorial is going down here. We're going to add a few more things. And some of the things will be, for example, the choice. We will start with user making a choice, and then, of course, comparing it with computer choice and seeing if user choice is the same as. So that's what we're going to be doing. So the next thing to do is, now that we've done the user choice, we finished inserting all these labels, I'm going to zoom in so we can create the computer choice and then the user choice. I'm going to start with computer choice. So the computer gets to choose rock, paper, scissors from a list of rock, paper, and scissors. And I think we have our list right here called options at the very top. So what we're going to do for that is I'm going to create a variable, and I'll call this variable computer choice. And of course, computer choice is equals to, for the computer, it's random.choice. So we're using that random library, and we're going to put the list called options. So options is the name of our list that we created at the very beginning, if you remember, that has the rock, paper, or scissors. So once done, we're going to move on to the next thing, which is where we create user choice. And so user choice is equals to string, and then of course open parenthesis, input, and ask the user, which do you choose, right? So we give the option. Do they choose rock? Do they choose paper? Or do they choose scissors? And then we put a question mark. I'll put a colon and space. Now we come back down to this part, and this is where we start to decide who is winning. Well, not who's winning. Based on the choices, we have to also put the labels. So label, what I mean is not the labels, the pictures that we already, remember we created the player hand, the computer hand, and the hand. So we have to test that and see that it works fine. So here we'll start with one condition. Let's see how this works. We'll say, we'll do rock, 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 paper, and rock, scissors. So we're starting with rock, rock, which means a tie. So if user's choice is equals to rock, and then computer choice is also equal to, actually, this is going to be rock. If that's the situation, then it means it's a tie. So this means that we're going to be putting the player hand is going to show as rock. Remember the picture that we made over here. So we're putting the picture of rock for the player and also the picture of rock for the computer. So here, this is the reason why we did not add, as I was saying before, for computer hand, I didn't add the part that says screen.add shape because sometimes it will be a tie. And so we can't use screen.add shape if it's the same shape. So here we're going to say player is equals to rock.gif, right? Because that's the picture. And then player option, which is where we're gonna be calling the function. Remember what player option is. It's the function that we have over here that we created this function to be able to insert the player choice picture. Okay, so don't forget that. That's the function we're talking about. So that's what we're calling down here. Okay, so I'm gonna hit an enter. So we are calling the function so that this picture can be inserted. And then after that, we're gonna do the computer one. So we're gonna say computer is equal to capital rock dot gif as well. And then of course we're going to go on to call the computer option function as well, so that can insert that picture. And then we finally need to do the part where we insert the tie, the one that says tie, because both of them are choosing rock rock. So this tie has to show. So that's the one that we'll try and see if we can show it at the top, which is way better. I prefer going all the way to the top. So I'm going to put the X because X and Y coordinates that we globaled in this function was actually going to be used to put in the winning title, whether it's a tie or it's a computer win or it's a user win. So in this case, I'm going to go with 300. I think I will go with like 100 rather. Try that out. And then the Y, I'm going to go all the way up to 200 just to put it like at the top and see how that looks like. And of course, the picture I'm going to put in there is equals to tie. Remember the name of your photos, they need to match. And so that's what I'm putting as tie.gif. And then, of course, the next thing to do is to call the function that's the winning title so that I can be able to have that function, the function to be able to insert this picture successfully. So once done, we can actually try and see if this works perfectly. So let's see. But to be able to do this, I have to hashtag the computer choice to not make it active because the computer will choose randomly and I'm not sure if it's going to be choosing rock. So I have to set the computer choice just for the sake of, not there, please, not there, not there. Down here, you have to, if you want to do the testing, you have to set the computer choice to what you want to test it to make it choose so that you can see if it works. Because if you leave it to computer choice random dot choice, then the computer can choose something else and we don't have other conditions. We only have the one where user has to choose rock, computer has to choose rock. So let's try to run it and see if it works at this point. So what I'm going to do is click on the the begin button. Make sure you zoom out your screen a little so you can see everything nicely. So again, I'll click on begin button. We have a little problem. I think I know why. It's because we didn't do turtle.done. So we have a problem that says that we cannot re-enter read line. So can't re-enter read line. If you get that error, that's just because when you're listening, when you make a turtle listen function and you're done with it, it's always a good idea to put turtle.done. Okay, so that's something you can add to fix that problem. Now I'm going to go back and rerun this. I'm going to go to 90%. Like I said, when you're on Lunapic, I really do advise you to just stick with the 800 by 600. That works really well for this Replit screen. Okay, so now it's working fine as I said. So if I choose rock, you see what happens. Okay, the computer is not added and the tie is perfectly there. However, I would say the computer doesn't get to add um, the the function. So let's see why. So I'm missing something. Um, so computer choice, rock, paper, winning title. The computer rock, we go to computer option and we have computer.hand and we have screen.add shape. So one thing we could do is, based on what I'm seeing, actually we have everything done. Will be for this one, for the X of this tie, I definitely want to move it to the top. So I'm just going to make it 300 more to the right. And for the computer, let's try something like this. Let's try the screen.add shape thing because that's probably why this is not adding. So add shape and let's put in rock.gif because we're using one hand. So let's try it out and see if that works. So I'll click on run again, click on begin. Uh, my choice is rock. And let's see now. Okay, that was what I was afraid of. When you do the add thing, it just, the tie is perfect. I would say maybe just like a 280, a little bit to the left, but it's pretty okay. Now, this little problem that we're having here with the computer adding shape, that's the little issue that we're having. And I think we global this just to confirm that we did global it. So rock, let me see. Let's check what's wrong so we can have this picture show perfectly. To actually fix the problem that we're having is because I realized that we put in negative 350 and for both the computer option and also the player option, which is why the picture is appearing on both on each other. So what we want to do is remove this negative 350 and write 350 so it goes to the right. If you put negative, both pictures are going to be on the left, which is why it doesn't show. So if you put positive 350, so it now goes to the right side, and that's going to be for the computer. So yeah, so that was the only problem, and now with this whole thing, it should work fine. Nothing changes here. So let's run it again, and let's put on again. Click the begin button to start the game, and now we're gonna have the rock option, and I already set the computer to choose. So this is perfect. This actually comes perfectly here. We can also put this tie if you want to put it down in the middle. You can do it, just bring it down to reduce the y coordinate so it comes to the middle. I think I'm just going to keep it here because actually, yeah, I might bring it to the down part because I need wider space for the other labels. They're pretty longer than this. So for the tie, I think I'm going to go at negative, maybe 150. So bringing the y coordinate down. Let's see how it is now. So the title comes down and I can put the rest as well. Okay, so I chose rock again. The computer I set to choose rock. So this is way better. You can bring it even further down and make it perhaps 50 or 60 just to see how further down it's going to go. And I really want it to come like in the middle if possible between the two player and computer. This is pretty okay. So for the other one, you can also bring them further down, but I think this is great. So it looks really good on display as well. And now the next things to do is to add some more conditions. So you just have to keep adding more conditions that follow the same structure and you already know how to set stuff. So yeah, so we're just going to continue that. Okay, so to add some more conditions, we will continue on line 76. And a couple more conditions we're going to be adding is we're going to say elif user choice is equals to rock. And this time the computer chose scissors, so we're going to add this condition. And so rock and computer choice is equals to scissors. So we're doing rock, scissors, and then rock, paper. Okay. So we're going to go down. So obviously that means the user is winning because rock breaks scissors. So here we're going to put, again, player picture to rock. So player is equals to rock.gif, right? So the picture again, we call the player option function so it can insert that picture. And you realize that I did not remove the hashtag from the computer choice random.choices because I don't want the computer to be choosing until I finish the game. Then I will remove it because I want to be setting this computer choice to the computer choice that I have over here so I can test to see if it works. So now the computer part, so computer choice, no, not computer choice, sorry. Rather, I want to add the scissors For the computer option, let's put computer option. So computer now chooses scissors. So that's the name of the picture for scissors right here. And then I want to be able, this time we have to do the whole screen.add shape thing, because remember in the computer option function, we don't have that option that says screen.add shape just like the one for the player option. That's because we wanted to have the situation where we have like a tie where they choose the same thing. To be able to insert the same pictures, we couldn't have had screen.add shape because that means we're inserting separate pictures, which means we had to duplicate. One thing you could do is just create another duplicate copy right here, which says duplicate of rock, and put it as rock 1, then each, even though they're the same picture, they're different name. So that could work. But since we already have not added the screen.add shape for computer option function, we're going to do it here. So screen.add shape, and then we're going to be adding again the computer, picture. So just like what we set this picture to be, scissors.gif. So we're going to do that in here. So screen.add shape, it's going to be scissors again with capitalized because that's the name of the picture right here. So scissors.gif, and that's going to add the photo. And now we can call this computer option function, which then would insert this photos properly. Okay. So, and then of course, if the user chooses rock, as I said, and computer chooses scissors, then the user is winning, which means win 1 has to show. So that means we're going to go down, and the X coordinates, again, I'll put it as 280. I think it works pretty well. The Y coordinate, I'll just bring it further down to 40, just because it will be somewhere down where it's like more space, and we'll see how that looks. And of course, the picture that we're going to be putting in and calling the winning title function would be, of course, win 1, because that is the picture that I have here that says you win. Okay. So make sure you're checking the picture's name. And then for you to be able to insert that picture, we're going to say call the winning title function so that it actually inserts that photo. Now I'm going to go back up. Once you finish, that's all for this condition. Now go back up and change your computer choice, which you tested already for rock. Now make it scissors. And of course, you have to choose when you run the game rock so you can test and see if it works. So let's go ahead and test. Stop the running, rerun again. And now let's test it out and see. So I'm going to zoom out the screen a little. Again, I just like to use a 90% resolution for this. So it just tends to show everything really well. So now I'm going to click on begin. And here we have the player and the computer. So my choice is rock. Computer chose scissors, so there you have it, and there you can see you win. So the only thing is it shows perfectly, but I need you win to go all the way further. It's too much to the right, so I'm just going to make it like, so this is how you adjust the pictures to show properly. So maybe go like to 230, I think, or 240. Let's try that for the win title, and then run again, and then click the begin again. And of course, now click rock again. So computer chooses scissors. And okay, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. If we can make it like 220, I think that would be perfect. So it goes more to the left. And then of course, click the begin button and start the game. So rock again. Computer's choosing scissors. That looks way better. If I could just make it to 200, I think that would be perfect. Just a little bit to the left, just to be a little bit centralized. So click again, begin, and then of course click on rock again, and of course the computer chooses this is perfect. So that's exactly what I wanted. So it shows you win. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this tutorial. When we come to the next one, we will be continuing on lines 87 with our remaining conditions.